All right, guys, welcome to Onelife Podcast. Here with Justin. Justin has a clinic called Clarity
Clinic,
where you combined NAD with ketamine, right?
Yes.
Very interesting.
We're the first in the world to do it.
First in the world. This is very interesting. I feel like a lot of people don't know much about NAD. A lot of people don't know a lot about ketamine. You're combining the two. You get a crazy backstory.
Yeah.
It's so many things to touch on. NAD. What is NAD? Why is it important? Let's start there.
I'm going to try and give you the grade school version of it because, I'm not going to pretend like I'm somebody I'm not. I was an F student when it comes to science.
Yeah.
Okay, so what basically NAD is we all have NAD inside of our bodies already. It's what's fueling our cells and giving energy to our cells. So without NAD, we wouldn't be existing.
Yeah.
The problem is when we hit around the age of 40, our NAD levels start depleting. Hence why I got a little gray in my beard right now, starting to get a little wrinkles around the eyes. That's NAD depletion. That's not aging. That's NAD depletion.
Gotcha.
So what else causes NAD depletion? Drug addiction, alcoholism, depression, stress, anxiety, sickness. And all of those things can lower your NAD levels. And for example, when you were 20 years old, you could have a good 12-pack of beer probably, wake up the next morning and be ready for football practice. Not a problem whatsoever. If God forbid, let's just say I have 2 beers right now, I'm probably not waking up okay in the morning. That's NAD depletion.
Gotcha.
By the age of 50 years old, we have half the NAD that we did before. Right.
And this is getting to Dave Sinclair stuff, right? Like
this is exactly what David Sinclair
I'm a big fan of him.
He's more on the precursor tip, which is NMN.
Yeah, or NR.
NMN, right?
Yeah.
And that's a precursor to NAD plus, whereas NAD plus is pretty expensive. It's not a cheap supplement whatsoever. And also, I want people to understand this though. You have to be very, very careful where you are getting your NAD plus from. There is one FDA lab outside of America that is an FDA approved lab, outside of America that is in Japan. And they are producing a third-party tested 99.9% pure NAD plus that's being used for medical purposes. And then you have your IV vitamin hangover clinics. Almost 100% of the time, it's going to be Chinese NAD that arrives to them in a powder, and they can dilute it however they want.
That's interesting.
So it's not, I wouldn't recommend that when it comes to medical uses. But what we're using the NAD for is more medical things. Medical reasons.
Gotcha. So as we get older, especially once I'm 43, you're in your 40s too, right?
No, 53.
Okay. So as we get older, it starts to deplete. You said by the age of 50, it's half to what it used to be?
It's half.
Okay. Yeah. And as that, then you talk about your recovery, your energy, all these things get depleted with it, right?
You got it.
Gotcha. So that's the basic form of it. Okay. And then ketamine. I think ketamine, until I started this podcast, I would have thought ketamine as a bad thing, a horse tranquilizer, a bad thing. But I keep hearing a lot of people talk about it. So
interesting. Me too.
Oh, you too? Okay. So that's good to know.
I was a big fan of drugs. That's just part of my story. And I remember my first year here in Vegas, I met a DJ from New York and we hung out the first night. He arrived here. He was he was the other DJ at Light Group at that time. And he said, "Hey, have you ever tried ketamine?" I'm like, no, not at all, but I love drugs. And he's like, "Perfect, let's go back to your place. We're going to do some ketamine tonight."
Did you know anything about it?
Nothing.
I think horse tranquilizers first comes to mind.
I said, "What should I expect?" He said, "Magic." And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Anywhere you really want to be, you can kind of go there." And I'm like, okay. So I remember I did a little bit and I'm just lying in my bed and I really felt like I was on a Hawaiian island beach.
Really?
And I'm like, dude, it is magic.
But you're not doing anything.
I had no idea of the healing properties of ketamine. I was just using it to party. We were listening to different house records and this. We stayed up for 12 hours. We were high-fiving each other like we're going to be best friends.
Oh, really?
It was a drug to us. I didn't think anything of it. Then I shelved it. I got into recovery. And this is about like 10 years ago. But my issue is I'd say like 2-3 years or so, I'll get chronic hiccups. And the only thing you can do about chronic hiccups at that point is go to the ER. They give you morphine. I forgot the other medicine that they give you. And
for hiccups?
Hopefully it goes away for hiccups. Yeah, it got that serious with me. So what I did was I was on my way to the ER after the third day, and I called Ibogaine provider, who I know. And he said, Justin, skip the ER. Come straight down to Mexico and get a shot of ketamine. And I'm like, the club drug? And he's like, you got it. And I'm like, okay. I trust this guy. He was an amazing Ibogaine provider. And instead of going to the ER, I went straight down to Mexico. He gave me the shot, and within 30 seconds, it cleared it up. And I was like, whoa. And then it took me on this incredible, gentle, nice trip. And after I was done with it, I felt, because at that time I was diagnosed CPTSD, and I felt like I was carrying around a lot of heaviness. And then after the ketamine, I felt it almost disappeared. And I said, hey, Mark, they really should be using this for depression and PTSD. And he's like, dude, they are. In every single city, you can find a ketamine provider.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, wow. So I came back to Vegas, and that's when I contacted Dr. Leung, who was the only ketamine provider at that time in Nevada. And
is it regulated? Is it FDA approved? Is it?
It is. That's a tricky question. We are using it off-label.
What does that mean?
Off-label is a doctor can choose any way he sees fit to use a medicine. FDA approved is a version of ketamine called S-ketamine, which is the nasal version.
Okay.
Data, science, evidence has shown that IV is much more effective, which only
like anything
makes sense.
Yeah.
It's going vein to brain and 99% bioavailability. Whereas the S-ketamine, I forgot what it is. Don't quote me on that. I think it's in between the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah, it's never that high.
So it's not the same thing. But the FDA gave a thumbs up to that right now and hasn't given a thumbs up to the IV version yet, even though that's the preferred version. Now, what have I seen with ketamine? First of all, I tried it on myself, and I felt the PTSD just completely melting away. I even had to stop treatments because I felt abnormally happy. I know that sounds odd.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
But I felt those little yellow smiley emojis coming out of my pores. I was that happy that I was like, Doc, enough. I'm
and this is not on it, right? This is afterwards.
This is afterwards.
Gotcha.
Like the after.
So your base level of happiness kept improving.
Improving. And
did you suffer depression or anything like that?
What's that?
Were you suffering from depression, anything like that?
PTSD.
Okay.
I had PTSD before.
I get what that is, but does that lead to depression, anxiety, and things? Okay. I don't know too much about the...
Yeah, PTSD is going to come out as usually depression, anxiety.
So I've never experienced anything like that, so I'm not too up to date with it. And where did the PTSD come from?
PTSD, a lot of things. Some childhood stuff that happened to me was my original traumatic, and then actually I opened up the first psychedelic-based rehab after many trips to different rehabs and not knowing what the problem with me was. I was a heroin addict, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't stop using. I went to 30 different rehabs or so. I lost count, and they were all the same thing too. Lots of pharma medications. Stay on pharma medications, and then go to AA for the rest of your life because you are diseased and you are always going to be an alcoholic addict. That was the mindset that every traditional rehab was putting into me. So it was kind of like a recipe for failure in the first place. So
this saying like, you think this way, therefore you're not curable, but we can mask it.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Do you believe that?
Hell no.
Okay.
No, I don't consider myself an addict anymore. That's why it's very difficult for me to go to traditional recovery meetings where they introduce themselves as an alcoholic. are an addict because I believe the brain is listening to everything
you're
we're
literally
saying.
labeling yourself.
And if you label yourself,
committing yourself to that,
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Do you know what comes to mind? There's an English entrepreneur I really look up to. Cannot remember his name right now. But what he says is like, if someone says they're an ex-smoker or I used to smoke, it's still associating with it. But I don't smoke. You hear the difference?
Huge difference.
That's the same thing you're touching on, isn't it?
No, nobody got that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, but
I don't smoke. Not I used to smoke. I don't smoke anymore. I don't smoke.
Right.
And that's all up here.
Right. After 30 times of going on this hamster wheel of doing the exact same thing over and over, and I mean,
keep getting the same result.
From 1996 to like 2013, you know, I couldn't get more than like almost like 90 days together. Even though I was doing great and well as a pretty famous DJ here, I still couldn't put together 90 days without anything, you know, ever. And I didn't understand why. I was doing everything that I was supposed to do. I was taking the medications I was supposed to take, which really weren't helping. I was going to the meetings I was supposed to go to, but yet I was keeping myself in that sick mentality. Then I did Ibogaine down in Mexico.
Dude, what's that?
Ibogaine is a very, very strong psychedelic from Africa that they are using for addiction patients.
Ibogaine.
Ibo.
What is it? What is it? Is it a root? Is it a plant?
It's a root of a plant.
Gotcha.
It's a root of a plant.
Interesting. I don't know a lot about this, so it's
I've
interesting.
tried most of the psychedelics, and nothing is as powerful as Ibogaine. It's a very, very strong plant, and I had nothing left to lose. You know, I'd tried 30 rehabs, and you know, I was warned, don't do that, it'll ruin you, and this and that. I'm like, and people were telling me I can't fix a drug problem with a drug, and I'm like, nothing they were saying was making sense anymore because I kept failing.
And how much worse could it be, really?
I had nothing to lose, so why not try it? I did the Ibogaine, and what I learned, I don't remember. It was an 11-hour trip. I don't remember that much.
Jesus.
I know. And oh
wow.
My God. Yeah, it was hell. The only thing I remember is, yes, I had trauma when I was 3 years old.
That came up.
It was a repressed memory that was buried down deep.
Which most things are, aren't they?
And all of a sudden this memory comes to the surface like a drive-in movie, and then I see it erased. I even tried to get the memory back, and the medicine was just repeating, it's gone. That was 10 years ago. And I've never had a craving since.
Oh, wow.
Not even like a mild craving, nothing.
So you're saying that childhood memory was where it based off, and that's powerful.
Bingo.
Wow.
And what I have learned is, I think it's 83 to 87% of people that are suffering with addiction are just trauma victims.
Really?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that's not something that is really discussed in traditional recovery.
Not at all.
But that's why it's so interesting what we're doing at Clarity right now, because we are addressing not only the detox part with the NAD Plus, because the NAD is giving these cells so much energy on these people, and not only that, and reducing inflammation, which is a huge part of detoxing
and health in general.
We are turning your cells on so much that your body is able to fight off something like a heroin detox, a Xanax detox,
gotcha.
An alcohol detox with very, very minimal symptoms.
Just with the NAD.
That's never heard of. It's the NAD and the combination of ketamine. The ketamine is addressing depression, anxiety, PTSD, bipolar, and cravings. Oh, excuse me. And there's somebody calling for the rehab. So the ketamine, and not only that, but where ketamine also really works for us is we give such a large amount of NAD+. And this is pure NAD+. We give 1,500 milligrams. Now, if you call around to any of these IV vitamin clinics, most of them are not going to give you more than 500 milligrams.
Okay.
And there's a good reason for it. It's uncomfortable. You know, it's uncomfortable.
It's on the chest, right?
It's in the chest. It's in the stomach.
I got a doctor wants to hook me up. That she's saying, how long does it take?
Do it.
She's saying it's like a 6 to 8 hour process, and it's like an elephant sitting on your chest.
She's using good NAD then.
She's a doctor. It's got to be good, right?
Most of the time, yes.
Well, she's a trust very.
Okay.
So how long does it take if you're doing 1,500 milliliters?
That would probably take me 13 hours.
And you're literally hooked up to an IV the whole time. And you got that pressure on your chest and your stomach. Okay.
Now, we add ketamine to the mix.
Here we go.
We're down to an hour and a half.
Oh.
Can suck it right in.
What's the difference?
Ketamine is an anesthetic.
Gotcha.
So we are not feeling that discomfort.
So you're able to take it quicker.
We're able to just let them
That's interesting.
flow right into us.
That's super interesting. But you're also going to trip after that, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
When you say a little bit, what is a little bit? I mean, you just mentioned 11 hour.
You might see some fractals. You might see some patterns. You might see some geometry. You might see some pets. From
30 minutes type thing,
people that have passed. A little bit of hallucination.
Okay, but
sure.
like for 30 minutes or for?
No, for the entire time.
Okay.
So let's just say we're giving you 1,500 milligrams of NAD. We're going to give you the amount of ketamine based on what your history with psychedelics is. If you have a great history with psychedelics, we're able to hit you a little bit harder.
Okay.
If you've never done this before, we don't want to freak anybody out.
Yeah.
Especially
hooked up there.
And it's actually out of all those medicines, and it's not even a psychedelic, it's a dissociative. But out of all those medicines, it's definitely the most gentle. Whereas something like ibogaine will kick the shit out of you. Same thing with ayahuasca, same thing with mushrooms. Acid also can do the same thing to you. DMT, 5-MeO DMT, some of these can be, give you a little bit of a slap around. Ketamine is more of a, little pat on the back.
Gotcha.
It's a gentle medicine.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So where is there, where is the clinic? How does it work? Have you got a set clinic in town? Or?
We have a clinic here in Las
Vegas.
Vegas.
Where is it?
It's up by Tropicana in Durango.
Okay, so someone just books appointment and then...
Just books an appointment, fills out on our website, clarityclinic.com. You can just fill out under forms, whatever the issue is. If you're coming in for drug and alcohol, no problem. If you're coming in for wellness, no problem. If you're coming in for possibly just ketamine, for depression, anxiety, bipolar, PTSD, that's a different form too.
How do you get that out there? How do you get the attention, and how do you stay away from the bad stigma that comes with it?
Okay, a lot of people actually have brought that up, because I just got on TikTok a couple of months ago, and it's kind of blowing up. But a lot of people in traditional recovery are like, how can you be giving somebody a drug
a drug, right?
Rehab. And I said, yes, it is a drug that has a 94% success rate with treatment-resistant depression. That's what we have, though, but we're also one of the only ones that's combining it. I think it's 83 or so, but since we're combining it with NAD and a bunch of other vitamins too, we're seeing a greater success rate than usual. So here's my answer to that. Okay, ketamine is basically healing depression, and it's healing anxiety, and it's healing PTSD. Those are the reasons most people use drugs. Happy people aren't sitting around their house getting high or drunk all day. They're out at Red Rock and Mount Charleston enjoying nature. They're at the gym getting healthy. They're taking yoga classes. They're out getting a smoothie. They're not inside drinking.
Yeah, hiding my life, masking my life. I'm out enjoying my life.
So you would say to me, well, I'm an ex-addict too, and I've had ketamine. There is no part of me that wants to spend my days high on ketamine. It just doesn't compute with my life now.
Yeah.
I'd rather wake up, go to Lifetime Fitness, and do what I do, go for a run out in Mount Charleston. Like I said, happy people aren't sitting around the house getting drunk and hiding everything, hiding their 100%. Emotions with drugs.
Yeah. So that's... Someone like myself who doesn't take drugs, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, why would I come in and do ketamine with the NDA? Okay,
it's not the ketamine, really.
Would you recommend someone like me doing it?
Well, yes, because we wouldn't give you NAD alone. Nothing against you, but we don't want you sitting in our chair for 10 hours.
Okay.
And if we give you, say, 1,000, 1,500 milligrams, you're going to be in that chair for a very, very long time.
So the
Whereas
ability
if
to
we give
speed
you
it
a
up.
little bit of anesthetic, we don't have to load up heavy on the ketamine, and especially if you don't have any depression issues or anything like that, we would just be using it as an anesthetic.
Okay.
What we're doing is just trying to get the NAD in you with minimal discomfort.
As quick as possible.
As quick as
That's
possible.
what I thought you'd say. That's why I asked it. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the NAD for somebody like you, yeah, you'll feel a huge difference. One of the most number of patients that we have actually are not addiction alcohol patients. They're COVID long haulers.
What does that mean?
So somebody who got COVID, but still suffering from symptoms months and months and months, up to a year later.
Really?
A lot of brain fog, a lot of inflammation in the body, a lot of pain in the body and stuff like that. And what we found is the infusions that we give, the combination of NAD and ketamine, usually 4 to 6 treatments, and they're pretty good.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
And the same thing goes with adverse reactions. So for everybody that's on, one side of the fence to the other, we're treating people that haven't got the vaccine. We're treating people that have got the vaccine. So it's both.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the alcoholics, does it benefit?
Alcoholics is one of the easiest detoxes for us.
Gotcha.
And alcohol is not usually an easy detox. You can die from it. Most people don't understand that.
Yeah, I have heard that before. It's one of the most dangerous drugs.
It's more dangerous than heroin.
Yes, it's the most dangerous drug to detox off or something.
Xanax, a little bit more. Xanax or benzodiazepines is the class of drug that Xanax, Valium, Klonopin fall under.
Okay.
Those can be the most dangerous because of the risk of seizure.
What happens with does your body just become reliant on it, or what? Okay.
That's exactly what addiction is. Yeah.
So
physical addiction.
If you take it away too quickly, you can die from it. That's what you're saying. That's
same thing with alcoholics. Like we never tell alcoholics to stop drinking. Before they come here, it's too dangerous. So we take them directly after their last drink into the office, load them up with NAD, and usually like within 24 hours, which is incredibly rare because alcohol detox is very, very painful. Not with what we do. These people are like eating full meals and feeling okay about 24 hours
Really?
after. Yeah.
So what's been something, how long has the clinic been around for?
The doctor, they were the first to do ketamine infusions. I think they started 7 years ago. And we introduced the NAD protocol about 4 years ago. And he's basically just been tinkering with it and refining it, making it better and better. I see the huge difference. In the beginning, when we were getting people off opiates, they were still having mild, pretty okay withdrawals. I don't think anything more than mild, but one of the first guys we had, I remember like a lot of throwing up was going on. Now, since he's perfected the formula, we see that there's a scale that we use. It's called the opiate detoxification scale. Measures from 0 to 43 being the worst. We've never seen anybody exceed 11.
Okay.
That's absolutely unheard of in traditional rehab.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the doctor is so incredibly open-minded that we are combining a natural medicine called Kambo. Kambo. It's a frog venom from the Amazon that is burned into the skin. And what we've seen is miracle after miracle after miracle with the person. What we believe is going on and what science believes is it's the peptides inside of the venom that's actually helping the healing process.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You must have some fascinating dinner parties. Like when someone, when someone's like, "What do you do?" You're like,
"That's funny.
I'm a photographer, I'm a videographer." You'll go to a whole different.
This is just one of my jobs.
Yeah, this is like.
But it's a very, very interesting job. And, we're hoping to expand this all over the country because we have an opiate epidemic right now.
Got a lot of, but that being the main one,
and
right?
that being a big one. And not only that, but after COVID, a lot of people seem mentally a little bit off. And it was a traumatic experience for a lot of people. A lot of people, lost their jobs or couldn't go to work or whatever it was, and that's a traumatic experience, and everybody responds to it different, but the level of depression and anxiety has definitely gone up over the last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without a doubt.
For me, it was just a forced vacation, and I was at the park and enjoying the sunlight.
I hate to say it, but with me too.
I
taught myself how to cook. I had to clean because I couldn't get my cleaning lady anymore.
Yeah,
so
I was out there flying drones and riding one wheels and
Mount Charleston every day, getting miles and miles in.
Yeah,
it was I look back at it that wasn't so bad. I mean, the first month was a little bit, weird. I didn't know what was going on, and we were supposed to open up our Clarity rehab. At that time, we had an enormous mansion that we had spent 1.5 years preparing and getting ready, and then all of a sudden COVID hit 1 month before, and we had to sell it.
Oh wow! You haven't been able to bring it back yet?
No. It's coming back in a different way.
Gotcha.
In a different form.
Are you getting people from around the country, around the world coming to visit you guys? Okay. How do they find out about you? Just from social, word of mouth?
It's honestly, me and it's really the doctor. We've tried marketing and social media, with different people, and it just didn't get really any results.
There's a fine line on how you do that, right?
But we've got almost every single one of our clients just from word of mouth. We have over 100 reviews, and every single review is 5 stars.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that rarely happens in any kind of medical business, or especially detox or rehab. People have complaints all the time, but we have all 5 stars, which kind of says everything. And that lately, the doctor allowed me to get on TikTok. About 6 months ago, I said, "Please, can I just get on TikTok and start talking about this?"
Does TikTok allow you to talk about it openly?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
They do. It's actually a couple of videos have gone viral. So,
what are you talking about?
Just NAD and ketamine, really.
Gotcha. I'm gonna have to check it out.
And modern recovery, and
how was the comments? Because I know how TikTok can be supportive, or people like, "Oh my God, you're crazy."
Be a battlefield.
Yeah.
But you know what? We just had a video that hit 300,000, and I'd say 90% of the comments are, "This doctor is angelic. We need to protect this doctor at all costs." Oh my God, this is so rare. A doctor who's actually listening to the patient, a doctor with empathy, 90% positive. And as you know, for TikTok, that's kind of rare.
Yeah, that's very rare.
But I think people can see sincerity.
Has the doctor had any issues with drug addiction?
No, never.
Okay.
The doctor himself?
Yeah, the doctor himself.
No,
I was just curious because I know you.
Veteran.
Okay.
Yeah, 11 years in Afghanistan. Very, very serious. Yeah.
How much does it help with what you do after experiencing it from being an addict and being addicted?
It's everything.
Does it help a lot with the?
It's everything.
Okay. Well, when you say it's everything,
and because I know what these people are feeling like, that I'm taken care of, because that's what happens. They fly in from out of state.
Yeah.
And
they're still addicted. Yeah.
I'll take care of them for the first 3-4 days, make sure that they're okay. And the doctor will give them infusions every day, usually anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. Sometimes the infusion will take, and then the rest of the day they're home sleeping. And I'm there just to make sure that they're okay.
Okay.
But you know what? My experience going through the rehab system and how they treated me has me approaching this completely different than, say, others would. I approach this very compassionately. If a person's sick, they're sick, and we're going to make sure that they aren't, no matter what that is.
Okay.
Without getting too into exactly what we do, but we don't have this idea that pure abstinence is the only way to recovery.
Okay.
So whatever that means to that individual is okay. They always say to us, are you going to take my Valium? Are you going to take my Klonopin? And I say, not unless you want us to.
So I'm thinking of something. They say like if you had a bad diet and you start incorporating healthy food, the bad diet starts to get phased out. You're kind of using the same approach, right?
Oh yeah.
So if you're an alcoholic, you're still allowed to drink, but we're going to add this, and by adding this, you're probably less likely to drink as much to a point where you completely stop. Is that a fair way of saying it?
That's exactly
right.
Right.
That's interesting.
And also, not only that, but I kind of force a 3-day juice cleanse on most of the people that are coming through.
Okay, so you've done the health thing as well.
I want everything to start over again.
Yeah, which is very important,
and
isn't
especially
it?
with alcoholics too. Their bodies are, pretty destroyed. You would be surprised. You would think that all these other drugs are doing so much more damage to the body and the brain. Alcohol is the number one culprit.
Okay. As far as results, have you had anyone not get results? Is it 100%? Like,
nothing's 100%.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
The American rehab system is putting out about 6 to 8% success rate. We haven't measured ours yet. We're putting together all the data so somebody can measure it. My guesstimation is there's two kinds of people that come to us. Kind of person that'll just want to come to us and then get home as quick as possible, get back to business, get back to whatever is going on in their life. Those kind of people, I'd say it's almost 50-50. It's almost like a coin flip. We don't exactly know what's going to happen. For the most part, though, everybody's real good. For the people that go on to some kind of aftercare afterwards, and what I try to push them is something that interests you. If you're into weightlifting and yoga and being healthy, let's go somewhere there. If you're into organic farming, let's do something like that. If Jesus is your thing, let's find you a place for you.
Okay.
Like whatever.
Good environments, habits.
Yeah, we've never really had that approach when it comes to recovery. We just have this one size fits all approach. Like everybody is going to do this. Everybody's going to believe in God and pray. Everybody's going to, and that's absolutely crazy. One size fits all. And we're all so different from head to toe that we've kind of adapted the idea of finding what fits for that person afterwards. Those people that go on to some kind of aftercare or therapy or whatever it is, we're seeing in the 90s.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when people call me, I'm just straight up with them. I'm like, here's the deal. You can flip a coin, or you can almost. I feel like
the power of being transparent is so important.
Yes.
The more honest and real, take away that gray area and kind of present it. This what can happen, but it's really up to you, and we need to work together for this. Have you ever read Scar Tissue, Anthony Kiedis' book?
No.
Oh my God!
So, I need to read it though.
You need to read it. If you don't mind sharing, so he was heroin addicted, up and down, year after year. What you've been through the same thing. What is the biggest struggle with it? Is it just what makes you want to do it? What keeps you back to doing it? You're seeing your life get destroyed.
What's interesting is I was always that guy out of all my friends in college and a little afterwards. That would pull my friends out of the crack houses or get them on a plane and get them to rehab. I was never into drugs. It just wasn't my thing whatsoever. And that's why probably I would try things here and there. And one of my friends that was in a very large band in Boston that will go unnamed was using it at that time. And I said, hey, let me try one. And for the first time after I did that drug, I felt comfortable in my own skin for the first time. My anxiety had gone away. My worries had just dropped. And I felt home again.
So it was specifically that drug.
I knew to leave it alone though. So I was like, you know what? I'll treat this like a little treat every here and there. And then the little treat picks up a little bit more and more and more. And then you wake up that one day and you're physically addicted.
That's interesting.
Now, here's why I could never get better before. Is one, there was repressed trauma that I didn't know about. And that's why I was feeling so good. Because it was quelling the part of your brain, which is the amygdala. That stores
completely switching that off.
Yes. So that was calming down. Second, whenever I would go to these rehabs to detox, they never detoxed me properly. So I would leave there sick still.
What do you mean not being detoxed properly?
There's, I mean,
I don't know much about this, so feel free to.
Say if someone is detoxing off something like heroin.
Yeah.
4 days of really, really brutal sickness, followed by months and months of post-acute withdrawals. So you can be feeling good one day, and then all of a sudden you're going to wake up the next day, start throwing up or shaking. Me, I could never get past that. So that's why I would always want to return to feeling good and just feeling normal.
Okay, so you weren't in rehab long enough to get through that. How long should you have been?
Even if you're in rehab for months upon months, you're still not going to get over those post-acute withdrawals, unless you know things like infrared saunas, flotation tanks, cold plunges, qigong, acupuncture. None of these rehabs were using any of these methods.
Okay.
Combo frog medicine, like I was talking about before. We would be able to relieve people of symptoms in 15 minutes. Nobody ever told me about any of these things before. That's basically why I kept on going back, is because I never felt normal.
Okay. All right. Cold plunges, saunas. Talk to me about that and how that helps with what you're talking about.
Oh man, I feel like it's the shock of to the system and that blast of dopamine, or serotonin to the brain, but it just seems to really just wake up the cells. And I always recommend to the people that were going through my program cold showers in the morning too. It's this, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" People are baffled by this, and then they do it. And they're like, "Oh my God, I feel so much more awake. I don't feel like I need my cup of coffee this morning. I feel alive." And with the infrared saunas, it's getting a little bit deeper than an actual sauna can. And it's also, you're able to sit in an infrared sauna for about 40 minutes compared to 10.
Yeah, 20, 25 max.
So the whole point of detox is trying to detox the body and rid it of everything that's holding them back. So when people stayed with me over, say, like a traditional rehab, we would concentrate on ridding their body of all that. So there's absolutely no reason to put that shit in your body again.
Gotcha. Do you find if you get in that mental state, you jump in the cold, it's very hard to focus on anything else but the cold when you're in the cold. I do it daily, so I can.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I can relate. I do ice baths.
Okay, so how do you feel from the cold plunge?
Everything you said, I've never felt
alive.
Never felt so in the moment where your parents give me a car crash 2 minutes later and you can't think about it. All you can think about is in the moment, which is so rare. It's so hard to be in that present state. Done cold showers for 6 years. My immune system, I've been sick. I didn't get COVID. All these benefits that come with it. Yeah, I mean, all this, the 2.5 time dopamine effect, all this, it's amazing. So what I'm thinking is when you start to get those cravings, you start to get shaky. If you jump in the cold, it kind of is going to switch it off, right?
Just like that.
That's interesting.
Not for me. I'm all done. I'm good. But for people that are going through this,
it's just going to shock their body, put them present.
Shock their body and put it right there and wake everything up too. And especially
as well as give them a natural high too.
People that were really addicted to methamphetamines, cold plunges are a godsend for. Because it almost gives them that same jolt of energy that they had before. That same
that's what Damon says. That's exactly what Damon says.
He said that?
Yeah, it's exactly what he says. That's why he encourages it so much. He goes, it's a way of giving the same type of feeling, but in a positive way.
Yeah, all the patients that went to my place absolutely loved. They couldn't wait for Damon Day. We would have him come in once a week and do his qigong with everybody. Everybody loved him, loved him. And the feeling that qigong would give them would be kind of similar to psychedelics.
Okay.
It's almost like bringing on a psychedelic experience, but naturally.
Gotcha. And he's the one who told me about Bruno, who I just had on the podcast. So awesome. All this, it's funny how everyone's in this mix.
Yeah.
Your daily habits. Are you doing the cold daily? Are you doing the infrared? What do you do?
Okay.
What should you be doing? What did you?
Obviously, I can't plunge on a daily basis.
I got one on my balcony after show.
Maybe I can.
I'm going to change your mind on that.
Cold shower now.
You do? How long have you been doing cold showers?
I started off having to go from hot to cold.
Yeah, because it's hard.
Cold. Now my body's so used to it that I can put it on brutally cold
from the start.
And just sit from the start and just sit.
How long do you sit in there normally?
10 minutes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Like 10.
10's amazing.
As soon as I start getting a little bit numb, that's when I know
10's impressive.
Time to go.
Yeah, 10's very impressive.
When I do that, I feel like I don't need my pre-workout.
You don't need anything.
You know, and then when I do it at the gym, right after the steam room or the jacuzzi, that's when I really feel it. You know, just going from the extreme hot to freezing cold.
That's crazy. Yeah, I love my coffee, but I don't need it. Because I'm like, I guess
it's
so much.
Extra.
Yeah, I just enjoy the taste. Yes. But I'm like, I don't need coffee. It's
right. So my routine is pretty simple now. You know, I wake up in the morning. I take very minimal supplements. I remember back in the day, I was taking like 17 different things at a time, and then I don't know if your body's meant to have that many extra supplements in your body.
It's really hard to know.
So I'm down to NAD Plus. I take in a sublingual form.
What does that mean?
Just put it under my tongue.
Okay.
And I'm getting 150 milligrams of NAD Plus.
Okay.
And I only use that one brand that we use that's coming from China.
I'll have to try that.
So the pure.
You sell it at the clinic?
Yes.
I'll have to try it out.
Yeah, that's it.
Because I've been using it. What's the difference between NAD Plus, NR, and NMN?
One's a precursor, and the other one's it. So you're just eliminating the middleman.
Gotcha. So take you actually think NAD Plus is better? There's
testosterone precursors, you know, that people can get pretty easily all over the place, you know, and then there's actual testosterone.
Okay.
That's the difference.
So you're literally taking it at the base. Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
And NAD, we can compare to testosterone treatment, and I'll tell you why. Because let's just say if you're a male and you have low levels and you get on testosterone right away, you're not all of a sudden just going to become Hulk Hogan after your first shot.
No.
It doesn't work that way. It's about building levels up and then maintaining levels as is. Same thing with NAD+.
Gotcha.
It's about building levels up. And you're not going to... Some people actually do, though, feel it from the first pill that they take. They're like, oh, my God.
I couldn't sleep the first night.
You know, people feel it right away. I personally didn't, but I believe that's because I was so depleted.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
From all that opiate.
I was going to say, I feel like the healthier your body is, the quicker it's going to kick in.
100%.
Because the first time I took NR, I couldn't sleep that night. Okay. I was like...
We recommend you don't take this 5 hours before bed.
Yeah.
Because and the funny thing about NAD, it could do two things. I feel like it's almost scanning your body before it starts to work away. And there's some people that really, really need rest, and it will knock you on your ass. For instance, the doctor I work with, the first time he did it, he did 1,000 milligrams, and all of a sudden he slept for 15 hours uninterrupted right afterwards. That's how hard he works, though. You know, so if he wasn't going to take the time to sleep, NAD came in and said, "You're going to bed."
That's the problem, right? That's the thing. They're saying that majority of stuff on Amazon's fake. It's not real. It's not as high a percentage. As an NR, I get with my health food store, and it's really good. Oh. I've had my friends take it and not feel anything, and I'm like, this is amazing. I am just like so switched on. My energy is so good. The energy I got 10 o'clock in the morning, I've got 11 o'clock at night. I'm sitting there, I want to work, I want to play guitar, I want to do anything but sit around.
Right.
And it's just figuring out that balance for you. But I'm a huge fan. That's where this channel started.
Oh.
This whole channel started with an NR and NMN video.
Oh, wow.
Literally the first upload was that. So I'm a huge fan of Dave Sinclair, the book Lifespan. I love the fact he's Australian. He's representing...
I'm curious why he doesn't promote NAD Plus directly over NMN and NR.
I don't know. Because I could explain a lot about the NMN and NR, but I don't know much about NAD Plus. Yeah. And it makes sense. It's literally direct to the source. So
right. It's directly to the source.
Yeah.
That's how the doctor kind of explained it to me. He's like, why use the middleman at this point? And I'm like...
Because NMN is actually cutting out the NR, cutting out one stage. Because it's NR to NMN to NAD, correct?
I am not 100%.
I'm pretty... So, yeah, I think it's so... Okay, so you're literally cutting out two middlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think... you would feel a difference right away. As soon as you took an NAD Plus tablet, you'd be like...
I want to try the infusion now.
The infusions are a whole different...
So I can't imagine this being too cheap. Can we talk price,
Sure.
how it works?
Oh, yeah. We're open about it. The most you could get is at 1,500 milligrams.
Yeah.
And that would run about $1,900. And that's because we are also giving it to you with ketamine, too. A regular ketamine infusion without NAD is around $750.
Okay.
We are a little bit more expensive than everybody, but we also don't have a nurse administering this. There's an anesthesiologist that is watching over all the time. And people will say, well, it's just ketamine. It's a pretty safe medicine. It is. And that's why it's the preferred medicine for children in the ER, because of its safety protocol profile. And now I forgot what I was just saying.
I was just talking about price and just...
About what?
I was just talking about the price. And
Okay, yes. Okay, so ketamine alone, $750. And yes, there's a big difference when an anesthesiologist is in the room. And
but that must be nice to know that they're there too.
It's really nice, because there was actually one time when I was doing my infusions that my blood pressure spiked, they call it, up to about 260 over 160 or 150 or something like that.
Okay.
Which is dangerous.
That's not good.
I thank God that there was an anesthesiologist in the room who has been through this multiple times. Anesthesiologists have been working with this medicine their entire career. Other doctors that, might not be so familiar with ketamine might not know exactly how to work with it the same way. And not only that, but there's nauseousness that comes with it sometimes, and anesthesiologists know how to get rid of that pretty quickly and know to keep 4 different medicines on board just in case. Just in case one isn't working, we go with another one.
So, I mean, it's not cheap. So how many days a minimum you need to do this for, and how do people afford this?
For a guy like you, studies have shown that you want to get 2,000 milligrams in you before you start feeling the effects.
Okay, and you're talking about for just the health effects, right?
Just for the health
You're
effects.
not talking about me being addicted to anything?
No.
Okay.
For someone like you would, for health and wellness, you would just need probably 2,000 milligrams to get started. After that, the pills would keep you maintained.
Oh, really? Well. The pills will keep you up there? That's interesting.
The pills keep me up there.
So that could bring that base level up and then you just maintain it. That's interesting.
I have herniated discs, L1 to L5, which creates an immense amount of pain. I tried steroid injections, I tried PRP injections, and nothing was able to do it for me until NAD.
Okay.
I am now, before I was at a 7 out of 10 on a pain level, now I'm at a 0.
Oh, wow.
And I attribute that from the NAD pills that I take every day.
Yep.
And then what I do is, if the doctor has time, I'll get it IV, but I just get 200 milligrams.
Okay.
I don't need ketamine with 200 milligrams. I can just take it, no problem.
Yep.
So if he has time, I'll take it IV. If he doesn't have time, I just take a quick subcutaneous shot in the arm, and I'm good for another 5-6 weeks.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So you don't need to go, so someone's healthy doesn't need to go and get the infusion. Okay, they just get the base level brought up, maintain it with pills.
If anybody's telling you different, they're just trying
to get. And what about if someone is addicted to something? How long is it? How many shots?
Good question.
And how do they afford to do that?
It really depends on what we're detoxing somebody off. If we're detoxing somebody off alcohol or meth, cocaine, easy for us. Very, very easy. Usually they can get by like around $10,000 or so.
Okay. So you look at like a week or two.
Is coming off something serious like methadone, Suboxone, Xanax, fentanyl. There's a new kind of fentanyl that's mixed with horse tranquilizer that's not fit for human consumption. Something like that can run, usually averages around 15, but it can go all as high up to 20. And most people are saying, wow, that's a lot of money. In comparison to our traditional rehabs, we are incredibly, incredibly cheap. The average rehab is around $50,000 to $60,000 in California. And not only that, but they're not going to do anything for you.
How do people pay for that? Even the rehab, how do people pay for it? Is it family, loved ones?
We can't take insurance yet because this hasn't been tested yet. We're the first to do it. So there's no peer-reviewed double-blind studies, longitudinal studies yet. about it. So insurance is not covering it yet. So most of the people that come to us are, are addicted at this point and don't have anything. So it's mostly their families.
Okay, that's what I kind of figured.
Families or loved ones that are helping them out.
Okay.
That's the most part. And a lot of the same thing with California, but a lot of these places have also changed their ways so insurance can accept them.
Okay.
So a place like Passages is about $110,000 a month.
Oh, wow.
But they are accepting insurance now, so that...
Okay.
Bravo.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. And then just to finish up, the future of this. Where are you going? Where are you trying to be? What is the ultimate goal?
Without giving too much away.
Yeah, you have to tell me everything.
We're in the works right now of talking to multiple clinics, and we're hopefully going to be putting a bunch of these around the country and establishing one flagship rehab with everything under one roof.
Gotcha. Okay, so you don't need to go build your own locations. You can work in conjunction with other people. That makes a lot more sense.
We're going to acquire.
Okay.
Other clinics.
Acquire. Okay.
Yes, because there's a big difference. Most ketamine clinics are treating depression, PTSD, anxiety, bipolar. We're treating long haulers with COVID, adverse reactions to COVID shots. We are treating Parkinson's. We are treating dementia. We are treating Alzheimer's. We are treating chronic pain. We are treating autoimmune diseases, addiction, alcoholism. So that opens up all these clinics, to a whole other market. So it just makes sense.
Final question. Someone who has been addicted to something, if somebody's watching this, they got an addiction, they're struggling with something, what is the best step from your point of view? Do they tell loved ones, they tell family, they seek out someone like you? Honesty. Because that's got to be hard though, right?
This is nothing to be ashamed of.
Okay.
How do you... Anybody out there who has found themselves physically addicted to drugs or alcohol or just out of control and not able to stop, there's no shame in it whatsoever, because most of us are just doing the best job that we can in order to survive. With
the tools and the availability, the people around us.
And you know what? And opiates, I guess, saved my life in a way. At that time, alcohol is probably saving some people at this time from jumping off a bridge.
That's a good point.
And if the difference is, someone so depressed and miserable that they're just about to jump off a bridge or, sit in the garage with the car or drink, take that drink, take that shot, whatever you need to do at that point. And then, honesty is the best policy.
Okay.
There's no shame in addiction whatsoever. And you want to take care of this sooner over later, just because there's too much death happening. And not only that, but the drugs that are out there are not the same drugs that I was doing back in 1999.
You mean the more man-made, right? And more engineered.
Not only that, but plain old simple party cocaine that people are dying off now because of the fentanyl that it's being cut with.
Gotcha. Why is it cut with fentanyl?
Get the people addicted. Fentanyl is very, very cheap.
Okay.
And it's very, very addictive.
It's addictive. Take more. Use it for longer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
for
your
welcome.
time. That was an absolute pleasure. I learned
so
much.
Okay.